I wonder if you can hear me drinking on camera.
Almost certainly. I don't doubt it.
We are back after a week away from your YouTube feed. We are back with the Bedroom Brainiacs. And I have to take ownership with the fact that the reason why we were gone is because of me. I threw my back out making coffee. And I don't know if anyone watching has ever had back spasms, but they are not fun. And I discovered last week that the myths are false and black does crack. Just not in the way that most people assume. But anyway, black cracked, but I'm here again for another episode of Bedroom Brainiacs, and I'm here with my wonderful co-host.
It's Julie. Still. Same as always.
No back spasms. Today's episode is, we'll just get right to it. We're going to do some questions from Reddit.
Ooh.
Some Reddit questions. I have browsed Reddit to look for questions and comments related to sex and relationships. And I'm going to present them to Julie. And we're going to have that's you.
Yeah.
That's you.
Still me.
And we are going to use your professional therapist brain to answer some of these questions. Now, I'm not going to name the users who posted these because I don't know if they want me to do that, but also some of these are pretty old and the user has been deleted. So I'm assuming that some of these are like trolly questions or maybe bots or spam or whatever, but we're going to run through them anyway.
Sounds good.
And we're going to see how many we can get to on our allotted 1 hour runtime.
Sounds good to me.
Are you ready to get started?
Let's do it.
All right. So I can't have you looking at the computer because I don't want you to I want you to answer them on the spot. No studying.
I'll turn this way.
Okay. Let's start with a short one. Okay?
Sure.
Question. Do girls love getting their pussy licked? Do girls love getting their pussy licked? Because I want to ask a girl out and maybe ask her if I can lick her pussy. Is it okay? Help me.
Help me.
Help me. Yes.
Just insert the GIF.
Yeah. I also should insert the gif of Mike Tyson saying he's back spinal.
Spinal. Yeah. You gotta ask her. I mean, really, like, I think it's great that you want to ask a girl out and maybe ask her if I can lick her pussy. Like, that's the move, right? Like, not every person with a vulva wants their vulva licked. And that's a question you gotta ask when you're doing, like, I don't know, like, I guess this would probably be a good opportunity to touch on the idea of, like, negotiated consent, which is, you know, before you have a sexual encounter, you sit down and hash out what you want to happen during the sexual encounter.
I think that's kind of related to something you and I always talk about, where the song that is the negotiated consent anthem is ironically the Whisper Song by the Yin Yang Twins.
One of my favorites.
Because, you know, he says, you know, hey, how you doing, pretty mama? Let me whisper in your ear. But he says, if you listen to the song closely, he says, you know, nah, I'm just playing it unless you say I can. Where he's saying, these are all the things I would like to do, but like, hey, is that okay with you if I do these things? Because I want you to have a good time as well.
Yep. He does very much, A, focus on pleasure, B, ask permission. Ask, like, is this what you're into? Would you like it if I did these things? These are the things I'm thinking about doing. A lot of times, it's interesting because a lot of times people, when presented with this as an idea, go, that's uncomfortable. You're about to mush bodies together. Like, wouldn't you want to know what that is going to entail? And, like, also, wouldn't you want to increase the likelihood that it's going to be a pleasurable like shared, mutually, collaboratively pleasurable experience, talking about it is like the number one way to make that happen.
I think what we're seeing in this question, the underlying thing in this question is people don't feel the need to ask because they assume it's already known. They assume it's the default or they assume that they can ask a girl on Reddit what she likes and that will apply to all girls. So
the old monolith.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why bother asking? If I have an answer from Reddit, I don't have to ask you, and now I'm going into it with knowledge because I got it from Reddit.
Well, and I would challenge that that's tied to the pressures that we have, like the social narratives that we have about sex and sexuality, that we're not supposed to talk about it, but we're all supposed to be experts on it. And that, you know, like how frequently do you see in a show or a movie, or even like people shooting the shit on a podcast where the butt of the joke is that someone didn't know how to do a sexual thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or didn't know that a sexual thing was doable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so, which creates a pressure that you're supposed to know these things and that it would be embarrassing and shameful to ask.
I find that so relatable, just even in things that aren't sexual, because there's so many things that people assume I should know how to do that I don't know how to do. And it's a thing where people assume that you're supposed to know XYZ thing, but if you've never done it, how would you know? A good example that I like to give is flying, going to an airport. People who fly a lot know exactly how it goes and what the routine is, and do this to make it easier, wear sweatpants and yoga pants or whatever to make it easier to get in and out of the security line or whatever. But not everyone flies. Mm-hmm. People assume that everyone flies, but there's people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s that have never gotten on a plane before. Mm-hmm. But it's a thing where people just expect you to know, and it's like, well, if I've never done it, how would I know?
Right.
But it's embarrassing to ask. For me, it's with cooking. I don't know how to cook. Yeah. There's so many things I don't know how to do with cooking. And if I ask people, they're like, you don't know that? No.
Right.
How else am I going to learn?
There's an expectation and judgment that comes with this idea of people not knowing things. And it creates this pressure for people that they don't ask, and then they don't get to experience.
Yeah, and with sex, it's especially mind-boggling because to me, it's the equivalent of, I don't know how to cook. So you ridicule me for asking questions, yet at the same time, you want me to make dinner. Mm-hmm. And then you complain that the dinner isn't what you wanted. And it's like, well, I told you I didn't know how to cook, but you told me I couldn't ask questions.
Right. I think about it like with sex, it's really interesting, you know, you look at where you're getting your information about sex. Reddit, sure. But also, there are so many places where we see sex performed. Mm-hmm. And sex as a performance rather than sex as an experience. And people take in that performance and then they go, well, that's what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And so then you've got some dude hooking up with some broad and he's jackhammering away like he's Alexander Skarsgård in the Vampire Diaries.
See, I was going to go Rocco on Rocco's Modern Life, but same thing.
And some people might be really into that. Like, certainly the women that were being jackhammered in Vampire Diaries expressed being into it. But as a performance, versus without asking somebody if they want to be jackhammered, you're in a situation where there might be pain, there might be discomfort, it might not feel good, there might not be an orgasm if that's something that's being sought out. And the person doing it might not actually be enjoying themselves because they're so focused on how quickly they need to be pounding it in that they're not actually even like aware of whether or not it feels good for themselves.
That's valid. I like the way you worded that too. So to conclude this first question, can you give a short answer for question? Do girls love getting their pussy licked? Because I want to ask a girl out and maybe ask her if I can lick her pussy. Is it okay? Help me. What would you say?
Girls are not a monolith. Mm-hmm. If you like a girl, ask her out. And if she says yes and you start hooking up, ask her if she wants her pussy licked.
Maybe don't lead with, can I lick your pussy? Maybe
It depends on the setting. You know, if you're at a club, like a sex club specifically, not just like a club,
Right.
like at a sex club, asking, can I lick your pussy is very likely within the realm of what might be going on in that space. But if you're just, it's like the girl who works at Annie Ann's Pretzel and you want to ask her out on a date, like probably start with, hey, can I get your number?
Maybe go start with like, hey, how you doing, pretty mama? Let me whisper in your ear.
Sure, that could work.
All right, so that was the first. Good job on the first question.
Oh, thank you.
Second question. Let's see. Let's go with one that's a little bit shorter. The title for this is Ladies Only. Ladies, I was wondering what it takes to make a girl come. Do they like curved up or straight? And how many inches is your personal favorite? Thanks. I feel like this is similar to the first question, right?
It is. It's also different questions that are not necessarily even remotely related to one another. Mm-hmm. Not every person who is a girl wants I mean, I could play dumb and be like, I don't know what he's talking about. But like, clearly curved up or straight, how many inches is your personal favorite? The question is actually like, what kind of penis do you come on?
Yes.
But like, what is true about like the types of trends that come up for people with vulvas is that like vaginal penetration is not a high signifier for orgasm by itself. Mm-hmm. There are erogenous zones inside of the vagina, and also the clitoris is sort of wishbone shaped. Mm-hmm. So if you have the clitoris, the head of the clitoris, the bulb of the clitoris, the part with a hood that most people would be thinking of would be right here, this kind of my index fingernail. And then internally on each side of what would be the vagina here are the crura, or the legs of the clitoris. And so oftentimes when people experience pleasure from vaginal intercourse, it is the stimulation of the crura rather than this idea that like the jackhammering is like magic. Mm-hmm. And so when we think about like, do they like curved or straight? Well, just like penises are different shapes, clitorises are different shapes, and vaginas are different shapes, and bodies are different shapes. And so again, this seems like it might be sort of a trend that my answer is going to be, it's not, you can't answer that for all women. Mm-hmm. You can't answer that for all vagina havers. Like, you gotta ask the person.
Right.
Some things that I think would maybe be worth saying if this person were asking me in like an education setting, that would sort of be my foundation, and then building on it, right? Like, it is less than half of women. I have opinions about the exact numbers, whatever, but that are capable, that frequently, consistently orgasm from penetration alone. And so when you're thinking about what it takes to make a girl come, A of all, that's not what you're doing. She is inviting you to collaborate
at the cum party.
At the cum party. That's a different thing, I think, just kind of generally. But it's going to take different things for different people, but similarly to like a particular type of pressure might be good for one person that isn't good for another person. But often, like, when people are looking to explore how they may achieve orgasm, jumping right to penetration is, for somebody with a vulva, somebody with a vagina, is not generally the highest percentage outcome for an orgasm.
So I think that the reason why I said that it's similar to the last question is because it's a question that not everyone, the answer you're going to get on Reddit is different than the answer you're going to get from an individual, because whoever answers your question, they can only speak for themselves, right? Mm-hmm. So this person is asking this question, and I don't know if it's research trying to figure out the variety of answers, but it's this thing where you said for the previous question where women are not a monolith, so there's only so much you can learn from the answers that you get. And a thing that I find interesting about this question that I've always found interesting about penis conversations is that people tend to forget that penises exist in a 3D space.
Yes.
So when they talk about how many inches is your personal favorite, it's like, well, in which direction? There's single wide mobile homes and double wides.
Yeah, girth is also a measurement that is relevant to people's interests.
And it just gets completely forgotten.
Yes.
A lot of times in my just experiences with conversations with any penis havers, not penis havers, it just never, in my personal experience, it hardly ever comes up in conversation. It's how long is it?
Mm-hmm. Unless it's a chode, right?
True.
Which would be a penis that is shorter than it is wide. But also there's, even in that conversation, right? There's trends, but then there's also what is aesthetically interesting or desirable, what is actually like pleasurable to experience as like a penetrative experience. Like that's going to be different for different people. And so there is this challenge that comes up where people, there's also, how do I want to say this? There's this idea that like all people who have sex with penises keep like I'm going to date myself here, but like a Rolodex in their brain of all penises.
Rolodex.
But it's just, the most common answer to a question like that tends to be the ones that make you feel good. Mm-hmm. And the things that make a person feel good is being heard and having a collaborative effort towards pleasure-focused sex. Mm-hmm. So, it sounds like a cop-out, maybe, that idea of like, I'm not gonna say people like a certain size, but like people don't like a certain size. People like pleasure.
I mean, I think that's kind of what I was saying before we started recording, where a lot of these questions, I think, are loaded questions. So, no pun intended. But a lot of these questions are loaded questions because in asking the question, they make assumptions about what answer they're going to receive. And I think it's also just as important to say, well, I can't answer that question. It would be like me coming to you and saying, hey, what type of soda do black people like? I don't know. I can't answer that question without sounding racist. Like I can't, or I'll say, hey, you can't. I think there's value in telling people that, hey, the way that question was framed, I can't give an answer because there's an underlying assumption there in the question. So reframe the question to something different. So I think it's valid to it's not a cop-out answer at all. I think it's a good answer.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that there are people who have size preferences, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that that's the good size and the other sizes are a bad size. Right. It's just for that person, what feels pleasurable for them is a certain size or a certain curve. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, and that's not something that the person that they are going to have a sexual experience with is bringing to the table, then they can have a conversation about what they want to do, whether that's just like something that they like, or if it's something that they need in order to achieve orgasm and they would like to have an orgasm with this person, then they might have a different conversation about, well, what can we incorporate? Are there toys? Are there like other pleasure items that might come into play? Are there other ways to achieve orgasm so that this particular part of sex would be pleasurable and fun, but wouldn't be the road to orgasm necessarily? Right. It would be part of the menu, but not the
menu.
Not the menu. I was like, what am I trying to say here?
By the way, grape soda. Okay.
I didn't say it.
Let's see here. Ooh, I got some good ones here. I'm realizing that I don't have a ton of questions here, but a lot of these questions that I have appear to be coming from people who are owners of penises. And I want to get some more variety when we do this again. But, next question.
Okay.
The title is, do women find it repulsive if their guy wants to give another guy oral? And the post is, I'm feeling bi-curious. I'm not sure how much of a deal breaker that is for the average woman. Thank you.
Women are not a monolith. That might not be something that is arousing or desirable or acceptable for some specific people. Gotta have a conversation. There is no average woman. Awesome. I am thrilled for this person, this guy, that he is feeling comfortable enough with himself that he's at a place where he's like, I kind of want to suck a dick. That's awesome. I'm thrilled for him, and I hope that his fear that women would be repulsed by this does not prevent him from enjoying his sexual activities, because there are plenty of women, open-minded, sexual beings who would be excited for him to explore his identity and his sexual purpose, sexual desires. They're just desires.
Yeah, it's just, this question in particular was so interesting to me because there's this, to me, when I read it, there's this subtext of, when asking, do women find it repulsive, there's this subtext that maybe I read too much into it, that the person writing it is struggling with the fact that maybe there's some guilt there about, this is a repulsive thing. I like it, but I feel like this is kind of repulsive. Do other people feel that way?
Yeah. And that's, I mean, that's part of the journey, right? Is like you experience what the social narratives are, which is like, bisexual men have been erased for so long. Like, bi erasure as a whole is a major issue socially. Bisexuality, because it is not by nature like linear, it gets erased, right? It's like if you see a bisexual person and they're in a relationship with someone of the same gender, oh, they're gay. You see a bisexual person, they're in a relationship with somebody of a different gender, oh, they're straight. But the reality is they're all these things. We're all these things all the time. And that non-linear experience as a bisexual person, it doesn't, our society especially loves binaries. And so when you're bisexual by nature, you fall outside of the binary. You're not one or the other, you're all these other things. And so that journey is, that's true for bisexuals of all gender, but because there is a lot of other narratives about gay men, there is this additional level of erasure around bisexual men, where bisexual men, it's presumed that they're just on the way to gay.
That'd be a heck of a name for a memoir or some sort of book.
And that's really tough, because there is this fear of like, oh, this is something, I know I'm attracted to men, I want to explore sexually with men, but I don't want to lose the doorway to be able to continue to explore sexually and romantically with women. And that is, so I hear that fear in this as well, that it may not necessarily be, I think I'm repulsive for wanting this, but society has painted a picture for men that if they explore sexually with men, it will in fact slam the door on their ability to continue to pursue and enjoy sexual relationships with women.
There's a funny joke that I think is very appropriate for this conversation that we're having right now. And the joke is, it's something, I can't remember if it was a meme or a tweet or a comedian said it, or I don't remember. But it was basically saying like, women can experiment. They can experiment in college. They can make out with their girlfriends. They can try different things, and it's fine. But as a man, you suck one dick and you're gay forever.
That's the narrative. Like the narrative very much is. And part of that it's harmful across the board, right? Because part of that for women is that women's sexuality has always been minimized and erased. And so there is this, like, you look at pictures of like painted pictures from history of two women being overtly sexual with each other. And it's like, gal pals. It's like, no, that's sex. Like, they are enjoying each other sexually. And so there is this thing that, like, because men's sexuality is at the forefront, and it's, you know, men are hypersexualized in this way, that sex is their focus and the goal, that, like, their pursuit of a man has more meaning than if women, you know, fool around with each other on the side. And so there's just, from every angle for all genders, bi erasure has such a majorly negative impact on people's ability to express themselves fully and, like, explore and experience pleasure.
It's so weird when I get involved in conversations and people say things outside of what I normally hear. And it's so weird when I hear that bi erasure pop up in conversations that have nothing to do with me. I just overhear it. Or it's conversations that I'm a part of, but it doesn't really concern me. And I remember there was a conversation happening, and two people were talking about a mutual friend of theirs who I didn't know this other person, so I was not a part of the conversation. But they were talking about how this person dated guys in high school, and then right after high school got into a relationship with a girl, and then that didn't work out, so she started dating another guy, and their reaction was, why can't she just make up her mind? And they were gossiping about this person behind their back, and I don't know who it was, so if this sounds like your friends don't really like you and they're talking about you behind your back. But it was just this, like, this judgmental, just mean, like, oh, I guess she decided that she's straight again now. Or, and it was just like, I was like, wait, what? People still feel this way?
Bisexuals, we exist.
It was just shocking to me, because it's like, that it would be as shocking if someone called me colored. I thought we left that way in the past, right? But I was like, wait, what? People still think that?
Absolutely. Again, it's that linear, right? It's that serial monogamy, right? Not only are you only ever supposed to have one partner at a time, and if you're not doing that, you're doing something wrong, which polyamory exists. But you're supposed to do it in such a way that you're always looking for the one. And so, like, you can't, that myth of, like, once you lock it up with somebody, once you're with somebody, you're not supposed to find anybody else attractive. That myth is challenged just by the experience of being bisexual, right? Because it's like, oh, well, if I have the man that I want to be with, then I can just not look at other men. And it's like, but also, what if you want to look at other women or other non-binary people?
I mean, I think that myth is challenged by every Michael B. Jordan movie that exists. Like, just because you're married, you're not going to see Creed? What?
Right?
Anyway, go ahead.
So that thing is just, it's so deeply woven into our culture, that search for your forever commitment. And if you're talking about it in that very linear way, in that very, like, monogamous way, then there isn't room for, like, bisexuality breaks that rule just by existing. And so that makes it a really tough thing for people who struggle with cognitive flexibility, or for people who that's really important to them, that idea of the one. To have someone just exist and be in challenge of their desire is uncomfortable. And so they just kind of go, I don't need to understand that. It's not real.
Right.
And they hand wave it away.
And it's not even just it goes beyond that too, because it's not even just, I don't need to understand that that's not real. It's like, hey, let's get together as a group and actively ridicule this person who is living her own life.
Just having a good time.
Just having a good time.
Just looking for love.
Just looking for, right. And it's like, it boggles my mind that this person is out here looking for love, maybe found love, fun, and enjoyment, and it's just this group of people are like, yes, but I hate that. Don't you hate that? Yes, I'm mad, I'm angry. And it's like, just this ball of anger. And
well, that's where they're comfortable, right? At the end of the day, like, it's just seeking comfort, and what makes them comfortable is gossiping about other people.
I mean,
which is super unfortunate. Like, that's a bummer. It sounds like not a very enjoyable life, but, you know, I hope that the person who they were gossiping about has found a sexual partner who they can have collaborative, mutual, pleasurable experiences with. Mm-hmm. And as for this man who wants to suck dick, get after it.
Suck a dick.
Pitter patter. But what I want to say is, like, there are probably people. The question was, do women find it repulsive? Mm-hmm. The average woman.
I'll read it for you again. Okay. Do women find it repulsive if their guy wants to give another guy oral? I'm feeling bi-curious. I'm not sure how much of a deal breaker that is for the average woman. Thank you.
Well, we already covered there is no average woman. There are probably women who would find it repulsive. Those aren't the women for you. There are lots of women, if you've ever gotten on AO3 or looked at literally any fan fiction at all, or looked at the demographics of who's watching, what's the gay hockey romance on HBO right now?
I don't know.
Oh, you all know. I know you're watching it. Like, it is not a deal breaker for a lot of women. Mm-hmm. There's lots of interest in expansive sexual exploration across genders. And that's the kind of woman that this person should pursue. Because if they want to feel loved and they want to feel safe in a sexual experience, then they need someone who understands that bisexuality is real.
I love it. All right. So we talked about finding the one. Let's talk about finding the several. Okay. This next question is, want to bring thrill in a married sex life? Want to bring thrill into a married sex life.
Okay.
This one's a little bit longer.
Is thrill a person?
No. Well, no. Close though.
Okay.
I got married when I was 32 years old. We used to have a lot of, hold on, there's some typos in here, so I gotta revise it in my head. Mm-hmm. I got married when I was 32 years old. We used to have a lot of rough sex since our marriage. We don't want to have children, so we decided that we will enjoy sex as much as we want. Now, it's been 5 years in my marriage. Sex is no more fun now. I want to try new things in sex. I want to bring another guy in for sex. How to convince my husband about it? Or how do I convince my husband about it? I'm also okay if he wants to fuck other girls. I just need satisfactory sex in my life. I need more dicks.
Get after it. There's not really a question in there.
There really isn't. I think the one question that is in here was written as a statement, mm-hmm. where this person says, I'm assuming it's a woman. I want to try new things and she says I don't mind him fucking other girls. I want to try new things in sex. I want to bring in another guy for sex, and it's written here, how to convince my husband about it. Period. I think the question is, how do I convince my husband?
You don't.
To do this thing.
That's not the goal.
Go on.
The goal can't be to convince.
Again, but the loaded question.
It is a very loaded question, but it's a really common thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like, people want, like, it sounds like she loves her husband. She wants to stay with her husband. She doesn't want to get a divorce. So what she wants is to have all these things happen and change in her sex life, and she wants her husband to just be fine with it. Mm-hmm. And that's the goal, rather than the goal being, how do I expand my life mm-hmm. to include these things and be okay with what that whatever that might look like. Right? Because she's saying she needs it. She's not saying she says she needs more dicks. So that's not like, I'm curious, but like, I wouldn't be in active grief if I never had more dicks in my life. It sounds like she would be grieving a loss of something about her sexuality if she didn't experience this more expansive version of sex. So the question being, how do I convince my husband? That's not your goal. Your goal is, I'm going to do these things. How do I make you more comfortable? Like, how do I talk to you about it in a way that I can invite you to join, or I can minimize your discomfort if you don't want to, or we figure out what to do about the relationship because as it functions right now, it's not working.
I will say, though, in her defense, that doesn't sound very thrilling, but I feel like so few of these... I feel like oftentimes the solution or the way to address these things aren't as thrilling as people... I'm doing finger quotes for people listening to the audio. Aren't as thrilling as people want them to be. Because what you just described, while it sounds great, it's a lot of work.
It's a really, really hard conversation.
And it doesn't sound fun.
No, and it's so I'm not saying that this, like, what I want to be clear, I'm not saying this marriage is doomed, and I'm not saying that she shouldn't have a conversation asking her husband if he wants to do these things. That's absolutely what I'm saying to do. But what I'm hearing and what I have heard throughout my job and what I have heard in life in general is people will go, I want to do these things, but my husband doesn't want to, so I'm not going to. Or I'd love to try these things, but I got married, so it's off the table.
Is that one extreme of, I want to do this thing, but my husband doesn't want to, so I'm not? Is that one extreme, and the other extreme is, I want to do this thing, but my husband doesn't want to. How do I make him do it? Does that...
They're kind of the same question with different answers, right? Like the question is, how do I do these things? And the answers are, I don't because my husband doesn't want to, or I bully my husband into doing it. And like, the reality is part of the challenge is people would feel, because of the social narratives, a lot of people would feel very uncomfortable saying, I had a great marriage, but we got divorced because we were sexually incompatible. They don't want to say, I wanted a bunch of dicks and my husband didn't want me to play with a bunch of dicks, so we got a divorce.
I don't know why. I'm sorry. I'm chuckling because all I can think of is the Arby's commercials where they're like, we have the meats. It's like, she needs more meats in her life. And anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say not from Arby's.
No.
So thinking, the reason that I am so adamant about, like, your goal isn't to convince your husband is because if you go into that conversation with your goal being, I've got to convince my husband, then you're not actually going to be honest. You're going to say the thing that you think will most likely convince your husband. Which in this case it sounds like she would kind of go like, well, you can fuck other women, which is like often the enticing way that it gets pitched, right? But there's so many things about this that, like, this is an ideal relationship that I would love to have as like a client in my job. Because this isn't something that I can solve in the few minutes that we're sitting here talking about it. But it is very much a thing of like, of all, again, it sounds like this person has done some great work, which is she's gotten to a place where she's like, I want this, I need this, it's important to me, and I'm not going to feel ashamed about it. Maybe. There's the shame part is a question mark, because there's that piece of it where there's this need to convince her husband, which I get. It sounds like, when people are in love, they don't want to break up. But compatibility is part of the conversation. So it is important to avoid, or there is an effort to avoid relationship under duress type of things where people are so afraid of breaking up and so afraid of failing because, and this is a much bigger conversation, but there is the social pressure and social myth that relationships, the only metric for success, I'm doing a lot of air quotes, so if you're listening to this on audio, I hope you can hear it in my tone, but the only metric for success in a relationship is how long it lasts. And that if you divorce, if you end the relationship, then you failed in some way. And that pressure, that metric, that being the only metric we use means that if you're incompatible in this way, one of you just needs to deal with it. Otherwise, you've failed at being in this relationship, and that's bad.
It's funny. I worked at Starbucks for years, and when I quit that, I don't feel like I failed.
Right.
I felt like more successful than I'd ever felt when I left that job. Good Lord. So I think that the short answer to this question is go to therapy.
Yeah, talk to your husband.
Talk to your husband, yes.
But therapy, specifically sex therapy, in this case would to me, this would be a great couple to go to sex therapy because it sounds like they're very in love. It sounds like, it's 5 sentences, but it doesn't sound like she's got other marital issues. She just wants to explore a version of non-monogamy, and she doesn't know how to bring it up to her husband. Great reason to go to sex therapy. But yeah, the advice is talk to your husband, not with the goal of convincing him, but with the goal of getting him to hear you, to see you, to validate that that's the experience you want and need. And then after that's happened, the next conversation is, what would that look like in the context of our relationship?
Great answer. All right.
Thanks.
We are moving right along.
You just gold starring me left and right.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you're the professional, not me, but it all sounds good to me. Let's see. We got time for, I think, 2 more. There's one that I found funny and one that I thought wasn't really just a good question. I think, one that I found funny and one that I think was a good relationship question. So let's do the funny one first. Okay. The title for this one is, the headline, title, whatever, subject. Just read a post which says 92% of women need to use a vibrator during sex to come. Women, please help me and tell me this is wrong. And the text comes from a guy who has been dating this girl for 3 months and has never been able to make her come yet.
Okay, two things. One, my ADHD brain, I had to bite my tongue to not quote Can't Hardly Wait.
Oh, yeah.
A movie from 1999?
Yeah, yes.
Because he's looking at the porno and he goes, it says here 92% of women at UCLA are sexually active. 92%. And then he says, that means I got a 92% chance of embarrassing myself. And I think that's really important. It's funny in the movie. Seth Green is great in that role, but it is basically this question, right? It's the same sort of idea. That 92% number just really made me laugh. Because let me just rephrase this question. I just read a post which says 92% of women need to use a vibrator during sex to come. Women, help me. How can I bring this up to my girlfriend? I would like to suggest that we introduce sex toys into the relationship. We haven't had mutual orgasms yet in the 3 months we've been together.
Yes, I think that's great. And it highlights a question that I had with this post. A question that I had with this question is, this person is saying 92% of women need to use a vibrator during sex to come. I hope this is wrong. Please tell me this is wrong. Because I haven't been able to make her come yet. Does this mean that he's using a toy and it hasn't worked? Or he doesn't want to use a toy because he feels inadequate?
I don't know, because we've only got what's written there, but it reads like I feel inadequate that my girlfriend hasn't had an orgasm during our sexual experiences. And I read this article that says that a vibrator is necessary, and that makes me feel more inadequate, which is wild because if it says 90, regardless of the accuracy of the article, if you read 92% of women need this thing and you aren't using this thing, how the conclusion isn't should go get this thing is wild to me.
Or talk to the person you're
right.
with. Okay, apparently, this is going to be the stereotype episode of the podcast because now I'm going to talk about Kool-Aid. Because it Black History Month is right around the corner. But that would be like me making Kool-Aid for someone and them not liking it. And every time I make Kool-Aid, they don't like the Kool-Aid. And I get on Reddit and go, hey, I've made this Kool-Aid for the past 3 months and this person doesn't like it.
It says on the package I need to add 1/3 a cup of sugar.
Yeah. So how much sugar do you like so that I can make this other person? I don't know. I'm not the other person. I asked the person how much sugar they like. Why are you asking me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you asked this person, hey, do you like 1 cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of sugar, the whole bag of sugar? How do you like your Kool-Aid?
Right. You just sort of know when to stop adding sugar, which is not a good answer for this situation. For this situation, there's a couple things I do think is worth touching on. One, what's the demographic? This 92%. Who did they ask? What was their age group? What was their sexuality? What was their gender identity? What was their interest, their sexual orientation? What was their race? What's going on demographically?
Where was this post?
Right.
Where was this posted?
Where was it posted? Who did the study? How was the study done? What were they using vibrators for? It says during sex. What does that mean? In the context of the study. So there's all sorts of things where you're like, hey, what I'm saying here is when you read a study that says any of these common sexual myths, such as 92% of women need to use a vibrator during sex to orgasm, get literate in regards to what you're reading and in regards to did they do good science here? Probably not. They probably didn't. They might have. Some people do, but it's not, there's a lot there. Because the thing is, in order to do good science, you need these very firm, very clear definitions and all these things. And when we think about, if you look at past conversations, past episodes, a thing that I'm frequently talking about is there's not one win condition. Sex doesn't mean one thing. And so it is a challenging topic to do research around for that reason. And then, it's not a splashy cover for a magazine to be when we define sex as insert sexual definition here, 92% of women just express that they prefer to use a vibrator for this experience. Way less splashy of a cool cover. But
then you read the details into their methods, and it turns out they were interviewing women at the International Dildo Convention.
Yeah, right.
So this the critical thinking and being able to critically analyze something is super important, because it sounds like what you're saying is this question, this 92% number is really bothering the person in this question. And what you're saying is that 92% number might be a lie.
Yes. And also
or misleading.
Misleading. And also, most people, when they think about a percentage like that, the common thing that happens is they start thinking of all the women they know. And they start thinking about 92% of women, to them, is, okay, I know 40 women. Mm-hmm. 92%, that's all of these people and not this 8% over here.
Yeah.
When the reality is, they likely know a lot of women of a particular demographic, and that might not be the demographic that was covered in the research at all. And also, 92% of all women is a very different thing than 92% of the women you know. So anyway, all of that is to say, critical analysis, build a stronger understanding of the research that you're reading. But the other thing here is like, buddy, why do you need it to be wrong? They sell vibrators everywhere now. You don't have to go, you can get them at Walgreens.
Under the personal massager section, which is funny to me. Just call it what it is.
Well, it is a personal massager. It's massaging you.
Yeah, but, you know.
But it's the thing about pleasure objects, sex toys, is that they are vilified from the perspective that pleasure should not be a part of sex. Right? That sex is meant to be something not focused on pleasure, particularly women's pleasure. There is, when we think about nerve endings and where things are located and things like that, there is a trend that, generally speaking, women are experiencing a higher, they're reporting a higher rate of pleasure, a higher intensity of pleasure, and a lower threshold of experience pleasure when utilizing toys in sexual play, both solo and partnered sex play. And that's awesome. The idea that that's something that is wrong or bad is coming from that narrative that's, we've seen a lot in these questions, these narratives about like men are supposed to have a certain level of sexual performance. But as I will say over and over again, every time you watch this show, sex isn't a performance, it's an experience.
Kind of like going to a Rush concert. It's an experience. You don't... Okay.
And some people don't enjoy sex, just like some people don't enjoy Rush.
Yes. I mean, no, everyone enjoys Rush. So, last question. And there is... Oh man, this question is actually pretty long, and we're almost at the end of our recording time here. But I want to go ahead and answer this question. We'll take as much time as you want, because this is one question that I think all the other questions that we did, there was this underlying theme of, I have an issue with this specific person in my life / people, but I want broad answers from strangers on what this specific person wants. Not how can I have the conversation with this person? How can I do this? How can we work? It's like, no, I need everyone to tell me what's up with this woman. What's up with this man? But this seems like I have a specific issue and someone please help me.
Okay.
So here it is. Aftercare makes my girlfriend really uncomfortable most times, but I really need it. And it says, my girlfriend is a trans woman. She's not planning on doing bottom surgery, but her dick still makes her feel very dysphoric. We both feel like aftercare is important, but after she comes, she feels uncomfortable and wants to be alone. Sometimes she walks away, sometimes she stays with me in bed, but even though she tries to hide it, I know she prefers not to be around anybody. I really want her to stay and cuddle, but I can also recognize her needs are not being met when that happens, and she deserves to feel comfortable too. What should we do? I want her to feel safe and seen, but I also want to feel safe and seen myself, and it feels like those two things can't happen at the same time.
Oh, my heart.
I know, right?
I'm so sad for that.
When I read this one, I was like, I don't know.
Talk.
Yeah.
Not during sex and not after sex. I mean, talk during sex, sure, and talk after sex, sure, but not about this. The first thing is, I hope that his girlfriend has a trans affirming therapist, somebody who can work with her to decrease that dysphoria, to increase a sense of self that includes, her truth, which is she's a woman with a penis, and that's a totally normal thing to be, and that, women have penises. That's fine. And that doesn't, saying that and living that are wildly different things. But there is therapeutic work that can be done to decrease that dysphoria. And I would, one thing that they can do is if it is financially viable and there are trans affirming therapists in the area, like seek out a trans affirming therapist, somebody who who is doing actual trans affirming work, not just trans acceptance.
I think that's important to point out, because I think it's important to tell people that not all therapists are good therapists. Not all therapists have your best interest at heart. It's any job that exists, any position that exists, there's going to be people in those positions who are bad at it. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important to tell people that if you're feeling not great about your therapist,
dump them.
It's probably not just you.
Ghost them.
That's valid.
You don't owe them shit.
Yeah. So I think that's important too. And I also think that this scenario here it's such a good example of why therapy is so important, because I've talked to plenty of people who have expressed an opinion that therapy in general isn't a valuable thing worth pursuing, or therapy doesn't work, or they don't see the value in it.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of those things that's so important, because this is an issue with no simple solution. And I think that the people involved don't even know where to begin to seek resolution to this. And it's not a thing where they can just show up to you and go, fix this. Because that's not what therapists do.
No.
And I've had people tell me, several times of, what's the point of going to therapy? They can't fix this. No one can fix this. This is da-da-da-da. What if I'm going to tell someone my problem and they're going to just suddenly fix it? No. And it's just like, no, that's not the goal.
Yeah.
And something like this is so tough where it's just like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. And so
what's your alternative?
There's a couple things. One, I again, I'll say it every time, like therapy, good trans affirming therapy is out there. And, I hope that that's a thing that is accessible to them, and that she can have that. In addition to that, one thing that I think a lot of people struggle with is they have this concept in their mind. I've said this example a little bit before, where it's like, okay, well, we have so many narratives and so many stories told to us about what things should look like. Mm-hmm. And even when we go like, okay, I don't want it to look like that, we're told and told and told, bake a cake, bake a cake, bake a cake. We look in the pantry, we get the ingredients, we bake a cake, and then we go, I don't like this cake. And then we go, what do I do now? I want to do something different. And then we make cupcakes. Because we don't know we don't know what else is available. Like, we go into the pantry and we look at the ingredients and we go, the only thing I've ever been taught how to make is a cake. Mm-hmm. But you look at, and so we get into this place where it's like, this is what aftercare looks like. We lay in bed together and we cuddle. That doesn't have to be what aftercare is. It doesn't have to, you don't have to bake a cake, and it doesn't have to be cupcakes. It can be flan. It can be, I can't even think of it can be pudding. It can be, it doesn't even have to be a dessert. It can be something savory. You can make crepes with savory filling. Like, you can make all kinds of things. And that's one of the places where therapy can be really beneficial, is because we can start to go, well, does it have to be that? And a lot of times people don't get asked that question. So I think there's something here of starting to have some conversations outside of the bedroom, not right after sex or before leading into sex, where you start talking about what feels good and start talking about what you like, having a very open and honest conversation about needs around like post-coital experiences. Mm-hmm. And if there is comfort in delaying that can then provide that girlfriend that separate, like, alone time that she seems to need. Like, ask if that's what she wants, right? There are some assumptions being made in the question. And so, like, gaining clarity on, like, what she feels she really needs and wants in that time. And then for the other partner to express what they really want and need in that time. And then leaving room for curiosity and creativity to see if you can find a balance of those needs and like explore comforts in needs being left unmet, right? Sometimes needs are left unmet, and that can be okay. That doesn't mean something's wrong or bad. It just is being human and figuring out if there are needs that one is comfortable leaving unmet, that one can go, I would really like to cuddle, that would feel really good for me. It's not something that I'm going to be able to get in this relationship, but in all these other places, this relationship is really like, it makes me feel great. I feel connected and I feel loved and supported, and it's a wonderful thing. And I can have cuddling over here in these other spaces, and I feel able to, in my self-knowledge and my self-trust with myself, I feel able to be okay with that need being unmet. Those are the kinds of things that a therapist can support, like that kind of journey that a therapist can support, so that this couple can find a balance in their needs and their healing and their growth. And also, trans-affirming therapy is really important, and I hope that they get that.
Man, some of the stories some of my friends have told me that I'm not going to share because friends have told me about stuff that they've gone through with therapists. But man, there are some bad therapists out there.
Dump them. Dump your bad therapist.
But I will say, and this is the last thing that I'll say on the topic, but whenever I talk to people about therapy, and they always say, well, the feeling that I get is that people think it's ridiculous that a therapist is going to have all the answers.
I don't have any answers.
But what I say to people is, no, for me and my experience, it's not about giving me the answers. It's about giving me the questions that I never thought to ask.
Yeah.
Because you get into this mindset where you think that things are just set in stone. Things are just very rigid, and this is the way things are. So I need an answer on how to fit within this kind of paradigm that is unmovable.
Yep.
Whereas a therapist would be like, and you said it when you were just a second ago, it's like, well, does it have to be that way? Mm-hmm. Well, no, no one's ever asked me that before. I never thought of that. Well, what, have you considered this? And now I have this whole set of other things to consider that I didn't even know were possible.
Right. And there's two things, I think a lot of people go into therapy with an unreasonable expectation, and their therapists don't do a good job of clarifying for them that I'm not here to fix your problems. I'm here to give you more questions, frankly, and tools to answer them, right? And there's also a piece that therapists are only as beneficial as you are honest. And a lot of people carry a lot of shame into a therapy office, and they carry a lot of embarrassment and a lot of worry about judgment. And so that they don't share the necessary information for the therapist to be able to process the whole picture with them. And so, to be clear, there are bad therapists, and you should dump your bad therapist. But also, there are therapists who are trying to do a good job, and if you are not being honest with them and sharing with them out of social fear of judgment, that can really impede the therapeutic alliance. But also, if your therapist is judgy, dump them, mm-hmm. Right? So it's sort of, unfortunately, more work for you.
I have a statement that I'm going to make, and this may feel like this is targeted to certain people in particular. This is a general statement, mm-hmm. And this is definitely a situation of, as the old ancient Black American proverb says, if it don't apply, let it fly. Mm-hmm. Stop lying to your therapist. Stop lying to your therapist. If you're going to lie to your therapist, cancel your therapy and save the money, because you're not benefiting from the thing that you're paying for. Yep. Stop lying to your therapist. And if it don't apply, let it fly.
Let it fly.
If that doesn't apply to you, it doesn't apply to you. I wasn't speaking to you. But if it does, I'm talking directly to you. Okay, so I had a couple other questions that we can, we don't have to
Part
get into
two?
these. We could do a part two. The couple topics, subjects that I didn't get to. Fingering ass, never dirty, question mark. Let's see. Can I be infertile by the fifth load? And there's a couple more. Maybe we'll do a part two. Maybe I'll do some more. I feel like I took it easy on you this time and gave you some pretty easy questions, except for that last one. There's some pretty easy questions and answers. Next time, I'm going to challenge you with some more difficult ones.
I'm ready.
But I think we've gone way over the time. Well, not way over, but we went a little
smidge.
bit over. Yeah, a smidge. And now I have to edit this and turn this around in record time.
All right.
Because we are recording this on Sunday night, and this has got to go up Monday morning.
Well, pitter patter.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this episode of Bedroom Brainiacs. Hopefully, we'll see you next week if I don't throw my back out again. Before we leave, as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I mean, do that. It helps, please. And
It
also,
really does help.
Yeah, and tell all your friends about it. And even if you don't like what we do, just play it and minimize it so I get those plays and my watch hours up. Just help us out, please.
It's true.
Thanks. All right. Well, as always, thank you for watching / listening. I'm going to go. I can't even jerk off this time. I got to edit this video. I'm going to edit this video. You guys be blessed.
Bye.
Bye.